Welcome everyone to the last session of the day. So in this session we are going to talk about platforms and lessons we have learned over 10, 20 years of working with platform or on platform. So I'm Jean-Francois Landreau, I'm the French guy here. And it's a bit of a reunion with my ex-colleague Michele, Danieli. We met 10 years ago at a large insurance company in Germany. And quickly after we met, we started to work on platforms. We parted ways a couple of years later, but we continued to work on platforms. And we are going to present some of this experience to you today. But what is platform? And I need to come back 20 years ago when I was working for a financial software editor. So working for the financial markets, our customers were traders. And the market conditions, they were not so good for us. So we needed to improve the way we were delivering software. We needed to be more efficient. And the management of the company came with this comparison with the car industry. So as you may know, many auto manufacturers, actually they share the same chassis across many different models. So, and sometimes even between car manufacturers, between different companies. So you have the same chassis, but the thing which is on top, and the reason you buy your car, it's going to be different. So, and the way doing that, they can, so building a chassis, it's an important engineering effort, but they have done it once and they can reuse, and they have harmonized this part. On doing that, they can focus on the innovation that will lead to somebody buying the car. So that's the idea of the platform, and that's what we wanted to do with our software. Still not so clear, so maybe another picture to clarify what a platform is. And here it's closer to what we do. I mean, it's even more abstract, even simpler. We have a lot of technologies that we need to put together to make the application teams efficient. And we do that via the platform. We unify with a layer, and then the application teams, they can deliver an application a lot faster, and they can innovate. And you have built a good platform when you are actually surprised by what they have delivered. You didn't plan that. And that's how you know you have built a good platform. But still, okay, yeah, what were we building? Actually, you have 4 kinds of big IT platforms. And when I was working in that company, we kind of built a bit of each of them. So we were a big player in the financial markets, and we had access to a lot of customers. Via our platforms, we allowed trading companies, so smaller companies that were delivering trading products, to be known via the platform, and then they could sell their product via our platform. So that was the marketplace. But to do that, we needed to give them access to our API so that they could build a product on top of what we were delivering to our customers. So that's the business platform. At this point in time, I mean, the cloud vendors, they were not here. We did automate a lot of the infrastructure we were using to deploy our applications. But we didn't go that far as the cloud vendor. A few years later, we used them just to accelerate even further the way we were delivering our products. Finally, on the development side, so a form of platform is when you want to accelerate the delivery of the software, of the applications. So we didn't go that far in automating the CI/CD and harmonizing across all the application teams, but what we delivered at least was an app store for .NET UI components that would allow any application team to push the component, the package on a server, and target the final user who would access this version. And for example, if a team needed to deliver a bug fix, push the package, tell this customer is going to receive the bug fix, and automatically it was delivered to the desktop of this trader. So accelerating the delivery of software.
So we will look into 7 stories. These stories are real life that we have experienced in different organizations, and they show some part of the building and executing a platform strategy. So they cover from defining the strategy, building the platform, organizing to deliver the platform, and adopting the platform. So different perspective around. Let's start with the first story. So in the past years, I've been involved into building a data platform for 2 organizations. These 2 organizations had quite a few commonalities: financial groups, multinational, multi-line of business, and both were going at a strategy to go in the cloud, but they took a very different approach in building a data platform with a very different outcome as well. The first organization on the left, A, started to build a data IT system that was covering a lot of building blocks, and they started to take ownership. Okay, this is the way we ingest data, and these are all our capabilities and our format that we support. This is where we store the large volumes of data. Then we will need to build use a data vault methodology, because we have a lot of different data sources, so we want to get into the way you organize the data. Then we are going to build a consumption layer, and we will materialize data marts for our applications. We will also control the data catalog and the data models, and we define the business glossary and the technical terms that we use. The second team is that, and we will build also common service, so very constrained world, very opinionated in the data models, in the processes, in the technologies, in the strategy also to manage the lock-in. So they decided to adopt technology with a strong multi-cloud approach from the very beginning. The second one, instead, had the same context, but they started to set out their principles. They wanted to use the cloud for what the value was in there. They started to say, we want to extract value from the data. So for us, the important part is that we have a clear, transparent data governance, and we manage the quality, we manage the glossary, we delegate, but we also build decentralization into our platform. They didn't say what the teams were going to build with the data platform. They started to enable different use cases. So they say, okay, what can we build? What could you want to build? What is coming as a requirement? We will see how to best serve, taking over the heavy lifting part, but leaving you free to use the technology that is in the portfolio. If something is missing, we will add it. So in the second scenario, we had a principle, centralized data management, not data. So they took a very different approach. But they took a very different approach because they resonated very differently about the value chain. They resonate very differently in the way, they resonated very differently on the value chain. The first one wanted to control. It saw everything as a standardized product. And they started to grow more close and visible to the customer. That were the business department in the group. The second one started to say, where is the commodity? Where is the layer where we can take over of the heavy lifting part of managing all of these large volumes, making them secure? So the difference for me was that the second one really visualized the evolution of technology and capabilities and also mapped them in the value chain. The other one instead was approaching this like they have been always approaching as an IT service, structured and highly standardized and controlled. And there was a very different outcome that showed also in the way they built this data strategy, trying to find the value on the different layers of the platform. We have this model basically say that platforms are layered. They stay one on top of the other. Base platform provide a base capability that, like, for example, storage computing network. And what you build on top is added value that you wanted to bring. Now, the different approaches you can follow is either you sync or you float. Because they wanted to control, they decided to sync their platform on the base. So they started to say a very multi-cloud approach. They started to bring technology that they were familiar on-premise into the cloud. They started to wire them together in a very predefined way. And by doing that, they lost value from the base platform and they took more ownership, but also more weight on their shoulder. The second one instead decided, no, we don't want to constrain, we want to get value from. So how do we move? We focus as little as possible in what it really adds value to what we can get from the cloud provider. We abstract we abstract on the concept that we want, the pattern that we want to provide. We started to resonate, how do we control this? How do we enable this kind of flow? What are the capabilities and how we will be serving them? But they didn't try to force anything on the user. And the outcome was that organization A, unfortunately, is doing its third iteration of the platform in not many years because they find friction. The first use cases that are the ones that have been used as a test start, and then as soon as they try to accelerate, they hit a ramp, and they lose traction, and they lose quality in the experience of the data engineers. The second one, instead, has been going a little more faster. Of course, they have more diversity in their landscape, but they're focusing on keeping diversity low on the lower layer, while they try to say, we want people to do what we didn't think they want to do. So we go back to the paradox. And this starts from strategy. So it's before you build, think what is your value chain. The second experience was with a customer. I was doing consulting, and a customer asked us, we need to improve our ITSM, so typical infrastructures and operation department. Development department is running away in the cloud, doing things. The infrastructure department is going crazy because at the end of the day, as the CTO said, whatever they do, if there is an incident, I'm responsible. So they started to say, oh, how can we improve this thing? I heard about platform engineering, so he came, asked us, started to visiting, having a lot of vendors coming and presenting their platform. And he started to say, oh, I think this can help me. But in reality, what he was thinking was a lipstick maneuver. So basically, he was trying to see how a platform could fit behind his IT ticket system to improve the productivity of his people. So this was not really giving him a much increase in agility. Why? Because he was not getting the fundamental difference between building a platform and building an IT service. The platform is built for speed. The platform is built for the centralized control, but the centralized use of the platform. The platform wants to go in self-service, continuous improvement. It's customer-centric. It's driven by considering the way the people will use the platform, not the way you want them to use your platform. And it's very different from a traditional IT service management organization approach, which is built for standard. It's built for repetitive work. It's not built for faster work. So when you think about the platform, you need to think whether you are willing to centralize operation, but decentralize the use. If you still wanted to keep the control of the use behind your ticket system, your RFC, you will not get much value. And we have seen this with this customer when we started to say, okay, what do you want to do with the platform? Oh, I wanted that to create automation that the customer, the team creates a VM and they do it faster. Okay, but when you create a VM, what happens? Then I create a second RFC because I need to put it on the DNS. Then I also need to open a third RFC because I needed to open the firewall ports to get to this. Then I need to open a fourth RFC because I need to install some software on that. The fifth thing is, finally, I have to ship it to the people, and I need to know who is going to use it. So other authorization that I needed to have. And with this thinking, there is not much that a platform can do. It's simply replacing, with a lipstick maneuver, your scripts that you have always had at home. So what was interesting, and we have tried this and really worked well, is that we run an event storming big picture workshop. So in event storming, usually it's a technique that you use to discover a domain, and you use that to bring together the customer with the development team. And the big picture workshop is the initial step where you started to explore what are the events, what are the commands, what are the policies that you apply. And we did this with the IT domain. So we got information security, development team, infrastructure team, and operation. We started to say, okay, let's take the last project that we have been running, and we will roll the time and see what is going to happen. And they started to go at the board, and we started to put the stickers and started to say, okay, what is going to happen? And the team didn't have any clue. One team didn't have any clue what the infrastructure team does. It doesn't have any clue of the problems of an operation team. And the same works for the application team. So a second in lessons that is learned is that it's different. Platform goal is different from an IT service platform. And you need to understand how the process will work. How do you empower the user while you keep the control? A third experience. I was working with an insurance company, and this is about adoption of platform. Is it always a good idea of using a platform? Not always it is. It's because the platforms have opinions. When you build a platform, you decide what the platform is going to do. Of course, you constrain some choice. You build some ramp to allow for user to adopt your platform, bend it a little bit, extend it a little bit, but at the end, these edges are not extended everywhere. What happened here is that the platform was selected, and then the project started to roll, and it was a business platform. And it was providing not only from the technology to the models, to the processes, to the interfaces, but what happened at the end, 2 years in the project, in production, it was a completely different tool. It was nothing that the team owning the platform could recognize. Because they had an opinion, and the team had a different opinion. Their opinion didn't match. So this was not a good choice. And this led me to understand later in my life that sometimes you need to understand whether what you're doing work or not, does not work with a platform. And I think this is an interesting model. This is a model from domain-driven design. It's called core domain charts. And it's used to map capability to two axes: the differentiation for the business and the complexity of the domain. And it's basically telling you, okay, how much what we are doing is differentiating, so it's specific. If you think about in the Cinefin model, how much of this is either emerging or good practice, but it's not a best practice. Not everybody does it the same way. We do it differently. And how much is complicated to enter or exit? So the switching cost, Gregor spoke about the switching cost today. And one of the examples is the business the business application, how much you can move out of this logic. Now, what this is telling you is that the more the scope of your platform is moving in the differentiation space for your organization, the more it's difficult for you to use this platform because it's too differentiated. It's becoming a custom application. So it's moving from the commodity back to the product or the custom built in the map. And so there are areas where this is easy. It's a generic. I'm doing heavy lifting. A good example is a cloud platform. It's doing heavy lifting. Nothing is differentiated. Or in accounting, it's also another example where there is a best practices, regulated practices. But the more you move right and the more you move up, the more a platform is not a great idea.
So another example where, when do you want to build a platform? So I was explaining 20 years ago, the company had needed to be more efficient. But another occasion where you can, I need a platform, is when you fear that your competitors or new entrants is going to steal your market because they are going to be leaner, they are going to adapt to the customer faster than you can. And here it was in an insurance company, and they were located on the left side. So they were in this disablement cycle. To get a Linux machine in the data center, you needed to write in an Excel spreadsheet, oh, this is a characteristic. You needed to wait for 3 months, and then you will get it, and you will be able to start to install the software. Because of that, because of the friction, well, nobody asked for one single machine. They waited until they had a big project, so something significant where they could ask for 100 machines. So because you had more investment, okay. So yeah, there is more at stake. So you are going to introduce more control to make sure you are not going to make a mistake with your investment. On introducing more control, well, the problem, it creates more friction. So I wouldn't say that the cycle was going slower, but at least it was not accelerating. And it's not like you could tune a few elements and it will start to go faster. So what do you do so to resolve the fear from this big company, making sure that they start to get faster in the delivery of their software? You can use a platform, and particularly an internal development platform. So accelerating the way a developer can get a single application in the data center, maybe not on production, but in pre-prod in a few days, or even a few hours. And because it's only a few hours, I mean, the investment goes a lot smaller, you have a lot less risk, and instead of putting controls, you can start to help developers go even faster in these directions. So you to move from the disablement cycle to an enablement cycle. However, so when you do that, you realize, oh, with my internal development platform, I can go faster. It's kind of working like a public cloud, so maybe I can start to use that. You have more options in a public cloud, but still, you may stick to what you have learned through many years managing a data center. When you manage a data center, you needed to limit the technology used in the data center because you needed to work on the licenses, you needed to work on the operation of the system, you needed to establish the vendor relationship. So you were working on the economies of scale. You needed to make this element you had in your data center scale. But actually, you don't need to worry about that when you are on a public cloud. It has been done by the cloud, the base cloud itself. You can focus on the economies of speed and make sure that your applications teams are working as fast as possible. So you really need to change the mindset and realize, oh, you don't need to have as many controls as you had before. And it's a difficult change, and it's not the only change. So when you are building a platform, it's a complex product. So you need to have the kind of same organization as we're in a small startup. So that doesn't mean that you are going to become a CEO or CTO or head of product management. So it's roles you need to have. It may be one single person at the beginning, but you need to think about all the roles you need to have to manage the platform properly. From the CEO who is going to do the stakeholder management, from interacting with the customer. It's a complex product you are building because you need to restrict the domain but still enable the customers to deliver whatever they think is right for them. So it's difficult. You need to have a product manager doing that. How you are going to do that, it's also, you have a lot of decisions to take. So you need to have a CTO, and then you need to make sure you deliver all this in time. So you need to have a head of product engineering, So let's say you have all this figured out. How do you start? So that's what happened to me many years ago. I was working in an organization where we needed to be sure that the software we delivered were going to work. Our customers were traders, and if there was a regression, then that would mean, well, we lose this customer, or they will be really pissed off. So I needed to build a platform to test the software, and actually, somebody tried to do that. And they spent a year and they didn't deliver something. So I needed to deliver, the development teams were waiting for it. I needed to be very fast. So it can feel like a very bad situation to be in. But actually, when you build a platform, it's a very good position. The reason for that, a platform, it's a special environment where you can be very happy as a geek. But then if you are not in contact with a customer, the chances you are going to develop something which is not valuable or you are not going to be able to sell is very high. However, if you have a customer who is ready to consume, you know exactly what you need to deliver for this customer. So you really need to sell the platform before it already exists. And then with platforms, so this is the flywheel from Amazon. Amazon has created this marketplace platform, and they have been really successful with that. So there is a flywheel effect. Because they started to open the platform to more sellers, actually it created more selection, more products available, and then they could reduce the cost, the overall cost of the platform, the cost structure, lower the price, and then get even more customers. So you have this flywheel, and this flywheel actually works also when you build a platform which is not a marketplace, like an internal development platform. You start with the first feature, you get a customer, people realize it works, you are going to get more money very quickly, and you are going to be able to deliver more features, have bigger teams. So now let's think about the implementation. And so on the one app, now you have a cloud vendors providing base platform. So you are generally not going to build a platform from scratch. You are going to build a platform on top of these cloud vendor services. And one way to do that, one classical technique is to use a wrapper. So you are going to envelop the platform and deliver the service related to your domain. This is called the anti-corruption layer and domain-driven design. And it's fine. So it's going to limit the cognitive load of absorbing the whole big platform of a cloud vendor. However, there is a big risk doing that. So you have the risk to sync the platform, to sync under the evolution of the platform of the cloud vendors. They are going to deliver new features, and you are not going to be able to keep up with your wrapper. So a wrapper is rarely a good idea, and it's going to introduce friction when on top of the cloud vendor platform. There are a few occasions where a wrapper can be a happy wrapper, like the Kubernetes, for example. The cloud vendor adopted it, and you have Kubernetes on all these vendors. So it's a nice wrapper, happy wrapper, but it's rarely the majority of the case. Another way you can deliver your cloud service, the cloud vendor service to your team, while limiting the cognitive load and driving them in the right usage of the cloud, is the various techniques. So first thing, you can do nothing. So give them access directly to the service. Second thing, you can configure which service. There are some services on the cloud vendors that you can enable. So you can decide which one are enabled or not. So it's the config part. You can intercept the service. In some occasions, you can decide, when the user starts using the service, is he going to be able to do everything? You can think about the SCP features inside AWS, for example. And you can track on, maybe it's a better way to control. So you give access to everything, but let's say that the user is not doing something that you expect. You can track that and report that to him. On this person, that actually there is a better way to use the service. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Don't let an S3 bucket open on the public, for example. And you have the last option, so the wrapper. But think about all the other options to give access to your public cloud to your teams. So overall, what we do with platform, in the end, we are trying to accelerate the rate at which the application teams are going to deliver software. So we are working on the DORA metrics, or the four key metrics for IT. And we are working mostly on the deployment frequency, so accelerating this aspect. At the same time, we are going to help the development teams in this area as well. But the whole idea is you bring agility, you increase the frequency of delivery. And to be agile, the best possible organization is generally this one, or this one here, the diamond shape for your team, the skills, the way your teams are skilled. So here you have a lot of senior engineers. You have a lot of senior engineers that are able to work on the whole set of features of your system, on the whole set of your application. That way, you can be very agile. Whereas if you have a pyramid organization with a large set of juniors, they are going to work on the periphery, but they won't be able to bring dramatic changes on your system. So the diamond setup for your skills is going to bring agility, and it's going to give you what you want to have with a platform. However, with technology, what happens is that you generally move from the diamond to a pyramid with a larger base. And the reason for that is that acquiring new experience, adapting to new technologies often brings you back to the bottom of the pyramid. You are not as senior on this new technology. So what you should do when you are in that situation is having a team that has a platform mindset, but is going to make sure that the shape of the team stay like this. So it's going to push the people who were going towards a junior position because of the new technology again in the senior position by helping them acquire this technology. And that's the idea behind having a platform team who is not really there to build a platform, but making sure that the shape of the skills of your organization stay in this diamond shape. So we are at the end of the ideas, the experiences we acquired over many years developing and implementing platforms. And I'm going to hand over to Mike.
So, last word, the content and the experiences and a lot of other experiences come from a book that we have been contributing. The author is Gregor, that is with us. And today the book is live. Here you have the QR code and you have the coupon, but there will be 10 books that we are giving away today, and there is 10 books for a lot of people, so if you receive an SMS on the phone that you registered for the conference, you can come to the banquet that we will be handing over the book with the signature of the authors. And it's going to be a pre-release version, so it's going to be really vintage in a few years. And the book, of course, is structured in a journey. Starts from strategy, starts then define for in-house platform what is the difference with cloud platforms. Then it starts looking into decision for designing, and then implementing goes into the building blocks. Take some example, for example, from the Kubernetes world and the IDP world. Then looks how do you grow, so how do you accelerate the adoption, and then look into the organization. As we have shown, organization, technology, strategy are all factors that contribute to make the platform a successful experience. Without looking at all these things in 3 dimensions at the end, you end up with building something that is not meeting the expectation, or is too rigid, or is not exactly what you need at the end. And then you also will find out that organization matters, so a platform is hard to live in an organization that is working in silos with technology towers. So you need also to put in some space for organization and having good discussion, how do you work. That's it. So I hope you are a lucky one that get the book and have a nice reading of the book.